Very good morning, students. We have covered your first chapter, the environment, in your geography book, right? हमने बुक रीडिंग कर ली है, चैप्टर को समझ लिया है, इन्वायरमेंट को। ठीक है, हमने देखा था कौन कौन से हमारे कंपोनेंट्स होते हैं इन्वायरमेंट के, इकोसिस्टम क्या होता है ना। और सारे ही अलग अलग कंपोनेंट्स के बारे में जो है हम ऑलरेडी स्टडी कर चुके हैं। तो आज क्या करेंगे हम, आज हम अपने चैप्टर 1 की डीजी क्लास को कंप्लीट करेंगे। ठीक है, यहाँ पे हम डिजिटल वीडियो की हेल्प से इन्वायरमेंट को समझने की कोशिश करेंगे। ठीक है, तो आज हमारी डीजी क्लास को स्टार्ट करते हैं इन्वायरमेंट की।
Jack and his friends have come to visit Jack's grandfather, who owns a livestock farm.
Children, look around you. The things that you see around you today are totally different from the things that you get to see in your city.
In the city, you would have seen big buildings and fast-moving vehicles. But here, you get to see tame farm animals and lush greenery. In the city, as well as over here, all the elements present around you comprise your environment. The place, people, things, and nature that surround any living organism is called environment. The word environment is derived from the French word environner, which means neighborhood. Can you identify the components of the children's environment in the farm? Discuss in your class and create a list of the components. After the discussion, click the Continue button to check your answer. The cows, hens, goats, trees, farmhouse and grass are all the components of your current environment. Why, even I form a part of your environment. Let us now learn about the components of an environment in detail. Our environment consists of both biotic and abiotic elements. Some biotic elements that we saw at the farm were cows, goats, and trees. Some abiotic elements that we saw at the farm were the farmhouse and the fence. Apart from being classified as biotic and abiotic elements, the components of an environment can also be classified as natural, human, and human-made. The natural environment consists of 4 domains: the lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. Let us now perform a quick activity to recall the meaning of these domains. Click a term on the left and then click its definition on the right. If your answer is correct, the blocks will glow green. If your answer is wrong, the blocks will glow red. After completing the activity, click the Continue button to proceed.
class, we have already studied all these different components of your environment. हमें पता है lithosphere क्या होता है, which is related to the land, और hydrosphere क्या होता है, which is related to water. Atmosphere is related to air, and biosphere is related to all the animal and plants. ठीक है.
The human environment includes human beings and groups of human beings, such as families and communities. It also includes various types of groups formed by people, such as social clubs and professional groups. Right from the Stone Age, humans have been interacting with the environment and modifying it to meet their requirements. As needs increased, humans learned to grow crops, domesticate animals, build houses, improve transportation facilities, and lead a comfortable life. Such man-made modifications to the environment, such as buildings, parks, bridges, roads, monuments, and industries, form the human-made environment. Here is a picture of a carnival. Identify the natural, human, and human-made components in this environment. Click the Show Answer button to check your answers.
तो क्लास, इन सारे इन्वायरमेंट्स जो आपके कंपोनेंट है, एलिमेंट्स है, हम इन सब के बारे में ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हैं. आप सबको पता है बायोटिक, एबायोटिक, नेचुरल, ह्यूमन इन्वायरमेंट एंड ह्यूमन मेड इन्वायरमेंट, ये सब हम ऑलरेडी जो है क्लास में पढ़ चुके हैं. ठीक है. ये लिथोस्फीयर, हाइड्रोस्फीयर, एटमोस्फीयर, बायोस्फीयर, ये सब भी आपको पता है. ठीक है. नेचुरल इन्वायरमेंट कौन सा होता है, जो कि डायरेक्टली नेचर से रिलेटेड होता है. ठीक है. ह्यूमन इन्वायरमेंट मतलब ग्रुप ऑफ ह्यूमन बींग्स, और ह्यूमन बींग्स इसमें आ जाते हैं सभी इंसान और उनसे रिलेटेड जो भी ग्रुप्स हैं. जैसे हमने देखा था पॉलिटिकल ग्रुप होते हैं, इकोनॉमिक ग्रुप, सोशल ग्रुप. ठीक है. तो ये सारे ग्रुप्स. ह्यूमन मेड इन्वायरमेंट में क्या आता है, जैसे आपकी आ गई बिल्डिंग्स, डैम्स, है ना, जो भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वगैरह जो कि ह्यूमन बींग्स पे बनाए हैं, वो सब आपका ह्यूमन मेड इन्वायरमेंट में कवर होता है.
Here are two landscapes for you. One of a desert, the other of the polar region. Where would you place the camel and the cactus? Surely within the desert landscape. How did you conclude this? Why didn't you place them in the polar region? you have a mental image of the environment in which camels and cacti are found, which is the desert. Thus, we realize that the physical environment of a region and the living beings of that region are interconnected, creating their own community or the ecosystem. Take a look at this scene from a forest. Did you notice that there are interactions between the living organisms of an environment? And also between the living organisms with their immediate surroundings. This is what the ecosystem is about. It includes the interactions between the living organisms, as well as the interaction between the organisms and their environment. The climate and other factors of the immediate surroundings give rise to vegetation. These are eaten by certain birds and animals. When they die, all living things return to the soil. They decompose and as a result provide nutrients to the soil. The nutrients fertilize the soil and more plants grow. This cycle continues, proving the interdependency between the different components of the ecosystem. The different types of ecosystems are desert ecosystem, forest ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, and man-made ecosystem. As the name suggests, aquatic ecosystems are located in water bodies. Depending on the salinity of water, there are two types of aquatic ecosystems: freshwater ecosystem and marine ecosystem. Freshwater ecosystems are located in ponds, rivers, streams, lakes, springs, and wetlands. Marine ecosystems are found in oceans and seas. Let's look at one of the aquatic ecosystems, the lake ecosystem. All the main components of the earth, such as the water, soil, and air, are found here. Water supports marine vegetation. Algae feed on the planktons, which are in turn eaten by the fish. Bigger water animals eat the fish. Many animals and birds come to find food and water in lakes. Some insects depend on water plants that grow out of lakes. The desert ecosystem includes the hot desert ecosystem and the cold desert ecosystem. An area that gets less than 10 inches of rainfall per year is a desert. In the hot desert ecosystem, moisture plays the dominant role in the growth of vegetation, since water is scarce. Plants store water or have long roots to absorb the moisture from the soil. Animals depend on these plants not only for food, but also for water. Let's look at a cold desert ecosystem, like the Antarctic region. Water here is in the form of ice. Rocks are bare except for patches of moss and lichens that have insects and other invertebrates living among them. The forest ecosystem covers all types of forests. Non-living factors, plants and animals are well balanced in a forest ecosystem. The warmth, dampness and rainfall allow the growth of big trees. Living things find plenty to eat in forests. Insects depend on the warmth and the moisture. Fallen trees provide food for ants, termites, and fungi. Man-made ecosystem. The parks in your neighborhood, villages, and tracts of agricultural land are man-made ecosystems that help to meet our immediate needs. To understand this better, let us take the example of a terrarium. A terrarium is like a tiny garden inside a glass container, usually displayed indoors. The ecosystem in a terrarium has plants and small organisms such as insects, soil, rocks, and even the glass container itself that are related to each other. If the plants grow too big, they might crowd out the other organisms inside the container. If the number of ants increase very fast, the other organisms inside the terrarium might be deprived of food. Removing the soil would also affect the plants and other organisms. This ecosystem is small, but it shows us the interdependence between the living and non-living components of an environment.
तो क्लास आपने देखा कि कैसे हमारा इकोसिस्टम जो है अलग अलग कंपोनेंट से मिलके रन करता है, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पे आपने पूरा कवर कर लिया आपका फर्स्ट चैप्टर इन्वायरमेंट का, ठीक है, जिसमें हमने क्या क्या देखा, इन्वायरमेंट क्या होता है, कंपोनेंट्स क्या होते हैं इन्वायरमेंट के, और इकोसिस्टम क्या होता है, ठीक है। और ये पूरा क्या है आपका इकोसिस्टम, जिसमें आपका क्या क्या आ गया, नेचुरल इन्वायरमेंट में फ्लावर्स, फ्रूट्स, बर्ड्स, डेड बर्ड्स, डीकम्पोज्ड बर्ड्स, मतलब जैसे ये फ्लावर्स हैं, फ्रूट्स हैं, बर्ड्स हैं, या कोई बर्ड जैसे मर जाता है तो उसके बाद क्या होता है, मर जाता है तो क्या होता है, उसकी बॉडी मिट्टी में जो है डीकम्पोज होती है। डीकम्पोज का मतलब होता है कि मिट्टी में मिलने के बाद वो खाद बन जाती है, ठीक है, और फिर वापस से वो दोबारा से मिट्टी में चली जाती है, डीकम्पोस्ट होकर खाद बनती है, फिर उसमें पौधे उगते हैं, फ्रूट, फ्लावर्स, ये सब चीज़ें होती है। तो ये सारा क्या करता है, कंसिस्ट करता है हमारा इकोसिस्टम। क्लियर।